If you are looking for some tips on how to make rounder glutes and defined hamstrings, you come to the right place. Buckle up and follow along. I'll be showing you 6 exercises that will give you stronger hams and rounded glutes. The hamstring muscle makes up around 1/3 of your leg mass. But one thing is for sure, if you want bigger legs, training your hamstrings is key. Made up of 3 muscles, the biceps femoris, semitendinosus and semimembranosus, the hamstrings run from your hip to just below the knee and allow the knee to bend, alongside extending and rotating the hip joint. Stiff hamstrings have been found to be associated with injury risk. I started with seated leg curls. If your quads are significantly larger than your hamstrings, you can use seated hamstring curls to correct muscle imbalances between the front and back of the legs muscles. Leveling out muscular imbalances is important to minimizing risk of injury, such as ACL tears or knee injuries. Making seated hamstring curls one of the best exercises for your hamstring muscle. I used to push the back seat at the further positions, but now I adjust the back seat to fit my frame better. I have the support of the back and can feel the exercise more. Today I could feel my hamstrings burning. One of the tips here is it's easy to swing with this exercise, so be sure to control the movement for the entire rep, pausing at the top and bottom if possible. So the next exercise after the sitting leg curls is prone or lying leg curls. So like the seated hamstring curl, the prone leg curl or lying leg curl is an isolation exercise designed to purely target your hamstrings. Prone leg curls will, however, emphasize the outer hamstrings more, the biceps femoris, than the seated leg curl variation. One thing to consider, however, is the range of motion in which you execute seated and lying leg curls. Studies have hypothesized that the main factor in the increased muscle growth when using the seated leg curl machine is due to the hamstring being trained in a lengthened position when compared to the prone leg curl. Seated versus prone leg curl. A recent study looked at the 20 healthy adults who completed seated leg curls with one leg and prone leg curls with the other. The individuals performed 5 sets of 10 reps, 2 sessions per week for 12 weeks. Seated leg curls are more effective than prone leg curls. So the study found that training induced increases in muscle volume were greater in seated leg curls versus prone leg curls for the whole hamstrings. It was 14% versus 9%. Just be aware that lifting your hips or chest off the pad is a sign the weight is too heavy. Reduce the weight and focus on your form before working back up to a heavier set. So this was the second exercise, and then I moved on to RDLs or Romanian deadlifts, where I did 2 sets by 12 reps with 100 kilos. So I went to do 1 feeder set to prepare the muscles that are already warmed up, just to feel the exercise, and then went to working set number 1. So I was doing these RDLs with focus on glutes. In order to do so, I'm sending my hips far behind the heels with more of a knee bend while keeping shins vertical to the floor. However, if you want to target more hamstrings than glutes, then legs should be more stiffer. And depending on how tall you are, your weight should stop somewhere between your knee and the middle of your shin. So the taller you are, the closer to your knee. You don't want to go too far down. I did mistake in this exercise by going too far down and let my shoulder blades to be pulled forward the bar instead of keeping them retracted, and I developed pain in lower back, so had to stop at working set number 2. Another mistake I did, to be frank, I'm looking upwards and not keeping my neck in line. So the difference between conventional deadlifts and RDLs or Romanian deadlifts is that RDLs don't touch the floor between each rep, while conventional deadlifts do. I will have another go at RDLs with those mistakes I did now in mind. I personally would never go forward with exercise when pain is felt. To be more precise, at any time if there's pain, I would stop and figure out something else. Oh, when I finished the RDLs, I went to do the leg press. Let's first review the architecture of the glutes before getting into how to get a bubble bath. The gluteus maximus, gluteus medius and gluteus minimus are the 3 muscles that make up the glutes, where gluteus medius acts as the stabilizer and gluteus minimus is for hip stability. Compared to the other 2 gluteal muscles, the gluteus maximus is substantially larger. The largest and heaviest muscle in the human body is this one. Additionally, it is a reliable indicator of sprint performance. As you can see for this female sprinter and those male sprinter glutes, it only makes sense to concentrate your training on this muscle as it makes up the majority of your butt and appears to be the most crucial area for improving athletic performance. To target your glutes during a leg press, place your feet high on the platform and use a narrow to shoulder width stance and press through your heels. Pushing through your toes, if you do that, will shift the focus away from glutes and onto quads. Keep your hips pressed against the back of the seat throughout the movement and avoid locking your knees at the top. Focus on the lower half of the movement, where the glutes are highly activated. You can even aim for a few partials in the lower range if you want to intensify the exercise and increase glute involvement. However, overarching your lower back at the top of the movement can lead to lumbar spine injuries. The leg press is a compound exercise and have reduced load on the spine. So definitely, if I had a lower back pain that I had, this would be an exercise to go for to work around the pain. So to target your quadriceps more with the leg press, place your feet lower on the platform and use narrow stance. As you can see, my butt lifts up from the platform, and this means I can go this deep next time, unless my flexibility improves. I don't know, I'm over 50, so if I'll be doing stretching, maybe. But yeah, stretching may help in that aspect by improving hips flexibility. Lifting butt will cause arching of lower back, putting excessive pressure on the spine. So just be aware of that. I did the same mistake. So after finishing this leg press, I went on to another machine called Glute Drive Hammer Strength. It's very similar to the hip thrust. However, a Glute Drive Hammer Strength is a specific type of hip thrust exercise that works glutes and hamstrings, where hamstrings assist in hip extension and works in conjunction with the glutes. The machine is more stable than conventional hip thrusts, and theoretically you can lift more with the machine. You can use a pad under the belt to protect your hips. When driving the weight up, push through your heels, squeezing your glutes at the top. Your body should form a straight line from your shoulders to your knees. Keep in mind to engage your abs throughout the entire movement. If your feet are too far forward or too close to your body, you won't hit the right angles for optimal glute activation. Experiment with different foot positions to see what feels most effective for your glutes. As I found out, doing this exercise on the machine is feeling different for me from the conventional barbell on the floor with lifting hips against the bar. The movement is the same, but I somehow feel glutes more doing glute drives on hamstring machine. As the last set on the glute drive machine was more difficult than the previous two, as I shifted the machine belt higher on my torso without the pad. So it was on my lifting belt. It was a mistake. I couldn't properly breathe as belt was pushing on my stomach rather than on my hips. So I had to flex my core and hold the breath. So just be aware of it. Well, next time I will use the pad for sure. So after finishing the glute drive, I went on to another interesting exercise, glute kickback or rear kickback. So a glute kickback machine is an isolation exercise for glutes. It also works overlooked gluteus medius. When performing this exercise, concentrate on using your glutes to drive the kickback motion rather than just swinging your leg up and down. For better glute fiber, and do not overextend your lower back at the top of the movement. This can reduce glute engagement and put unnecessary strain on your spine. So drive the movement through heels rather than toes, because if you push with your toes, you will activate quads more and take away focus from the glutes. When it comes to how high to raise up your legs, you should raise your leg as high up as comfortably, however, without arching your lower back. It really boils down to the mind-muscle connection when using a glute kickback machine. One tip would be to focus on that good squeeze in the working glute at the top of the motion. This is a more or less new exercise for me, to be frank. When I'm trying to do this exercise on the machine, then I would try as many settings or foot placements. In this case, I was trying to place my foot high on the platform and low on it, and I felt that the exercise for me was best when I placed foot in the middle of the platform and tilted my torso a little bit upway from the body rest in front. But everybody's different, so you have to experiment. But if I would suggest, just start with lower weight to find suited position and then increase the weight or reps. I went from 50 kilos, only 50 kilos, on first working set, 20% up to 60 kilos. So my fitness set was 20 kilos to feel the muscles worked at first. So guys, this was the training for today. If you like the video, please give it a like, subscribe. It will help my channel to prepare more videos. And complete training is in the description box below, so you can try it on your own and let me know in the comments. And have a great time, my friends. Enjoy!